It's showtime, folks. Welcome in. Chasing Big Joe, 1025, 1063, the game here on this Wednesday. We're live at Titans Training Camp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Hope you're having a great start to your day. Titans practice is underway, week 3 of training camp, and they actually have a game coming up this weekend. Saturday against the soon-to-be maybe Brandon Ayuk-less San Francisco 49ers. Big Joe, what's up?
Could be. I just, the more we hear guys sitting out preseason, and I think what Jamal Adams has been diagnosed with soreness a little bit. The preseason, man, is become something of its own in the fact of just nobody really cares. I mean, they used to care a little bit, and I'm not saying he's not sore because he's sore, but it's just kind of like, let's kind of hold back on the full contact and really go when we get the first game going on, because it happens every year. Teams lose guys left and right, and just how much good are you getting out of it? I know it's kind of frustrating to kind of figure things out if you're a head coach, because you just never know.
You never know, indeed. So we'll be watching practice. At least there's some clouds. It's humid, like it's definitely sticky out here. But Al Smith in the house, so a lot of different people.
Titans alumni here today.
Titans alumni coming out to watch practice.
See that
for sure. I want to start things off. Give a shout out to one JJ Dubin, senior year.
Yeah, today's his last first day, man.
Isn't that crazy?
His dad's having a rough go of it, and it's just here it is. I mean, it's like, oh, one day he'll be a senior. We're sitting there in 8th grade, and one day he'll be a senior. And then it's here, and it's like, holy cow. But I mean, I truly thank God, grateful for every second with him in the journey. But man, this is it. This is it. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and throw out our question of the day.
Yeah.
So the question is, what teacher had the biggest impact on your life that still today you think about? Just what teacher? I mean, what
teacher?
It's
an easy one for me.
Yeah, what teacher is it? 615-737-1025. What teacher and what school, what it was. And so for me, it was a guy at McGavick named John Terrell. He was a chemistry teacher. I didn't learn one thing about chemistry, but I learned everything about life and being a man. And he passed away about 15 years ago. So for those who went to McGavick and remember John Terrell, he was a larger than life figure, an old Southern gentleman who we all adored and loved more than anything else. He wore the same clothes, blue Oxford and duck head pants, every single day. We marked it. It was like 180 days he did that. So that's a guy that left an indelible mark on me. You?
Oh, it's an easy one. I'll try not to get emotional because unfortunately he passed away a few years ago.
Oh.
But I mean, really, there's two. But Steve Barnes, FRA, was my sophomore English teacher, and then I had him again for creative writing my senior year. But from freshman year until the day I walked across the stage, he always watched out for me.
That's cool.
And like he could, he knew right away. He's like, okay, you got an imaginative mind. You don't like to sit in the classroom. Your mind's going to wander. And so he helped me hone that, and knew that, he had done some broadcasting stuff and knew that that's what I wanted to do. He was on a NASCAR pit crew as a gas man.
Nice.
With Davey Allison, the Sadler brothers here in town.
That's cool.
So he helped me be me. And then the other one is Coach Glenn Tackett, was our basketball coach. And he was the one that, saw that I had 2 left feet and couldn't shoot or catch or anything, and said, why don't you come be the manager?
Right.
And best decision I ever made. Got me to do that. And, so both of them really kind of helped me find who I was.
Isn't it great, man? Yeah. They took the time out to care about you, and you still think about them, 25 years later?
And I mean, I saw Coach Tackett about a year or so ago, went and had lunch with him. So I still keep up, and I'll never forget, we had our 10-year anniversary of the game. We were doing our birthday party, and Darren, Willie, and I got a phone call from Steve on a car phone, and it was Mr. Barnes. Captain Barnes is what everybody called him. and called in to just say, "Hey, I'm proud of you, congratulations." And it was like, I about lost it. I'm like, you got to be kidding
That day
me.
over at Neighbors?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So
Yeah.
that was awesome.
And he passed away?
He did. He passed away a couple of years ago, or about a year or so ago, I guess it was. So, but two good men, that is for sure. Great question.
Well, it's just because teachers these days, somehow for some dumb reason get a bad rap, and we know how important they are and what they do every day, and we know they're not making millions off of it. And
No.
it's a dedication and commitment, and it's all around. I mean, I was blessed with great teachers growing up, and so we want to hear just who had an impact on your life. We'll talk a lot of sports today as well, but also we like to reflect on the good people in this world.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to a great teacher because I grew up with her. That's my mom.
Yeah, you did. There you go.
Starting, I don't know what year this is, but they started back school this week, and at her school, and she's, just had a birthday, a pretty milestone birthday, and shows no signs of slowing down. And
The big 5-0.
loves it. Yeah, exactly. We'll go with that. She liked that.
She's
Or
a good
29
person.
and holding, as she likes to say. But yeah, so my mom, is a fantastic teacher and has, touched a lot of lives. That's for sure. So
Yeah, that's it's something else. So yeah, keep 615-737-1025. All right, the Titans had a guy retire yesterday.
yeah, Sadiq Charles.
And before we go any further about this, people were like, I can't believe he retired. He's 25. He's
Yep.
walking away from the game. I'm telling you, I'm praying for this young man.
Yeah,
Something's going on, and I hope he's okay.
yeah, I am too. But let's see, Paul Kuharsky, paulkuharsky.com, because Brian Callahan spoke a little to the writers this morning. He did like a roundtable thing. Let me see if I can find the quote here. Sorry. Brian Callahan, Sadiq Charles didn't have an event. Football wasn't for him anymore. Anything more has to come from him. That was
Okay.
what Brian Callahan said.
Hey, man, you know what? He's dealing with probably some things. Let's hope that he's okay. And then if you want to play, that's fine. I mean, more and more guys are walking away from the game, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, that's so. If you, look, he did the Titans a favor.
Sure.
He didn't go through all the camp and then the week before. So you know what? I'm not going to do
Yeah,
this.
when he's named the starting right guard, and it's like, hey, I'm just not feeling
Yeah,
it. I
it's
don't love it
5
anymore.
days out from opening day, and he's gone. So as we always say, and it's the sports cliche that I hate, but it's so true. Next man up.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, just along of how you kind of started this. It's very easy for those of us on this side or a fan or whatever to say like, "What do you mean you don't love football? You make millions of dollars. You get to do this every week, all that stuff." Thank you, but you don't they're still human.
Yeah.
and I think so many people lose sight of that sometimes. That it's like these are human beings that go through crap just like you and I do. I just mentioned Davey Allison, and look who walks in. Liz Allison. That is awesome. But yeah, Sadiq Charles hanging it up, and yet, like you said, I hope everything's okay with him, and the Titans have to move forward.
Yeah, and I'm going through my mind thinking of other guys who just kind of walked away and said, "I'm done. Take care." And there's been like Jake Locker.
Yeah,
but I'm 4 years. I'm done. See ya. I'm gone. I'm out of here. And there's other guys who's like, yeah, okay. I'm no look. If you don't have passion for anything, then stop doing what you're doing. If you don't have, I don't care if you own a nursery and you stop having passion for growing plants, then get out of it. Anything in life, you have to have passion about it. If you're not passionate about playing football, it's okay, man. You did the team a favor. I just hope you're okay outside the four walls of this facility.
And I mean, look, the saying football is not for him is okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I think there's too many. I mean, we saw it firsthand with a first-round pick. There's too many people that don't love football. They love what football can do for them and their family, but they don't love football. And a lot of times, if you don't love it, it's not going to work out.
No, exactly.
You can't force it. So,
well, so you get the next guy up, and again, hope he's okay. And then as the team prepares for the first game on Saturday, Callahan? He probably hasn't yet talked about who's playing what, who's doing this, who's doing that.
Radence was getting, has been getting a lot of opportunities. So, I would think Radence is probably going to have a really good shot to start. 0388, this is well said. That's why I hate hearing these guys suck. We have no idea what these guys are going through. It's very true. And we've all been guilty of it, of saying like, oh, that guy sucks.
Right.
And like, I know where you hear that more than anything, but it's like, I do try and think about that of, they are human, and there are players that are better than others, and there are players that are worse than others. And it's just like, you do have to kind of take a step back sometime and realize that mental health and all those things affect everyone.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I think we're leaving out one other player that left the Titans after not being here too long and kind of stepped away from the game because he was dealing with issues. And that's okay. 20 years ago, it'd probably be, you look at you, you're soft, and how dare you? You're not a man. And that was such a stupid way of saying things. And now we've embraced it. Like, it's okay, guys. We talk about it all the time on the show every single day. It's okay not to be okay. And
amen.
To do that, go on. So now you deal with the guys you got here and just got to go forward for this weekend.
5132 says, love the show, but Chase looks like a tall Keebler elf. That's my side gig. That's a good one.
We're also sitting in an outdoor sauna, which is always fun.
We are. We're live today, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park at Titans Training Camp. Peter Skoronsky going to join the show after practice today. John McClain at 9:30. We'll have more coming from Titans Training Camp, including just kind of getting ready for the preseason game this weekend. It's Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 the game as a big breeze comes through. Oh, keep that going. It is cloudy, though.
So good.
Yeah, it does feel good, for sure.
It's a nice crowd. Do people not work anymore? I'm curious.
Say what?
Do people not work anymore? Because there's a nice crowd out here today.
Buddy, people haven't worked since 2020.
That's true.
They all work remote, Joe.
Except for today at Cromwell Media. They do not.
That is true.
Right, Nick? Go tell everybody we said hi.
I sure will.
Please do that. Let's see. Ed says, what do you guys think of tracking QB completion percentage? Could there be a more meaningless effort in camp?
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But here's the flip side. If Will Levis goes 2 for 19 in a drill, that's going to be reported. Like, oh, my God. If he goes 17 for 18, that's going to be like, oh, what a great day. So, yeah, it's a useless, boring stat that they do that. But we say we don't pay attention to it, but we do. So,
but here's
always
what
going to be that way.
Here's my thing. And if you want to report that, that's fine. But I think you should also, and it's hard to do this, but again, this is what I think you should do. If you're going to report, you got to report the full context. And, you know, Brock Purdy's a prime example.
Right.
He's talked about that. I'm going to do things in camp. I'm not going to do things in a game because I want to see what works and what doesn't. And so everybody was talking about, oh, he's throwing a lot of interceptions. Well, yeah, he's throwing a lot of interceptions because he's, been trying to make passes that he wouldn't normally make to see what works.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to see that. I want Will Levis to do that. And so, I don't have an issue with that.
That's the thing is, we've seen this before. I mean, I remember being out here when Kerry Collins was lighting people up, and then he get into a game and he was terrible. And I remember, preseason Vince Young looked so good in the 07 preseason. Preseason looked fantastic out here, and he was just a disaster on the field. So you just never know what's going to go on. Again, that's why what happens on September 8th is far more important than anything else that goes on out here in the next month.
I will never forget that 08, that opening game against Jacksonville. I was at the game. That opening game against Jacksonville, and Vince has a meltdown. Kerry comes in, they win the game. We obviously know what happened the rest of that year, that they, go start off 10-0, and then Brett Favre and the Jets come in here and in the undefeated streak,
right.
and then they lose to Baltimore in the playoffs to D-Mace. But I remember sitting there at Nissan Stadium or LP Field at the time and going, this season's going to be a disaster. I mean, our quarterback can't stay out of his head. Like, what is it? I mean, Kerry Collins. What's Kerry Collins going to do? That was kind of my. But then obviously you had Chris Johnson and
then they rolled from there. Just that Jacksonville game of 08, I'll never forget, because that's when Vince disappeared. Nobody could find him and what was going on, and it was a bizarre 36 hours for this franchise. I remember when I was at Channel 2, Jeff Fisher and the cops were over here at the facility at 4:00 in the morning, meeting to try to find. Nobody could find him, know what happened to him, and. I remember we had the video, and it went on ESPN and went everywhere because where's Vince? It was just, I don't know, man. It was a bizarre moment in this quite possibly the most bizarre moment in this franchise's history since they moved here in 1997.
It was. I mean, it definitely, and it was just that. What's going on? Things shifted from football to okay, is Vince okay? Like, you're worried about Vince.
Oh, yeah. It was quite something, man. And, it's funny, that camp, 08, he had an okay camp that year. He was going to be anointed the starter. I mean, he's Vince Young. And I'll never forget, he was out here. He threw a pass. They did a 11-11, and Joel Falani was trying to make the team. And he had a great route, broke the route perfectly. And I'm telling you, Vince threw the worst football I've seen since Mariota threw a football. And Falani went over there and started screaming at him about, I'm trying to make this team. You're not giving me the opportunity. And Vince is like, man, I don't care. And just kind of walked up. I was like, wow, that was something else going on. And Fisher was trying to figure all this stuff out in the middle of camp. And it was just a bizarre camp moment that was going on. And we saw the end result was Vince was not the answer.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
It's still, I mean, we've kind of talked about it off the air, on the air, but it's still the biggest what if.
It
you
is.
know? Like what,
It truly is. Had he been a truly franchise quarterback who'd done everything correctly and was lived up to all the billing, he would have been here. So he was first year was 06. You say he was here 10, 11 years. So you're looking till 17 or 18. There's no Locker.
there's no Wisenhunt. There's no Malarkey. I mean, if that had worked out, to me, Jeff Fisher retires as head coach of the Titans.
Yeah, I think so as well. The only thing that would have happened in that's Heimerdinger passed away.
Yeah.
11 or 12, and that would have affected a lot of things. But had he been there, I mean, so we could.
But Fisher would have been Belichick, like longevity.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely would have. And so it turned out to be. Vince's last year was 2010. His last game basically was the meltdown. We threw the pads in the stands, and that was another bizarre thing.
That was another one.
So but it goes back to camp. I mean, he had some moments in camp. You're like, oh my gosh, and then other moments in camp like, wow. But it's what you do on the game that really nobody cares about.
I'll never forget. So they had the press conference to introduce Munchak as the head coach.
Oh yeah.
And he gets asked about, Vince Young and, would Vince Young be coming back? And Munch was basically like, no.
Right. I mean, he saw it all. His offensive line. He's witnessed it all, every bit of that. And what happened for Munchak during camp in 2011 was the lockout.
Yeah.
Because he went, I mean, the Titans, they drafted Locker. You had the lockout. Signed Hasselbeck. So you had to bring all these people together. The lockout was going on, and then it ended, and then boom, they're out here trying to put things together. Look, listen, to a fault, Munchak is probably one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time. As a head coach, he was loyal to Bud and got the job. But they had
good soldier.
They had competitive teams.
Yeah,
they were very competitive.
I mean, that first year they were 9-7.
Yep, and then 7-9 the next 2 years. Yeah. And what they wanted to make changes. He didn't want to fire. Well, I don't know.
Well, because he made, what was it? Chris Palmer and Jerry Gray. And Jerry Gray went bad, but Chris Palmer was awful. I mean, he was past his prime.
Yeah.
And then he puts, is it Dowell Loggins?
Dowell
Loggins in as OC. And
Dowell got mad at me one time for a tweet that I said when he got elevated to offensive coordinator. I said, I hope he brings his step stool. Because he's like 5'2", whatever.
He's on a staff somewhere. He's coaching.
Yeah, he was an OC at Arkansas for a while. I mean,
maybe.
All over the place.
He is the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Is he?
Yep.
Hope he enjoys his last year there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it's just all these camp memories. I mean, I had the pleasure or the non-pleasure being out here for most of these, and it was something, man. But it's camp. It happens, and I've seen the 99. Their camp was and they go to the Super Bowl. 2000, their camp was a great team, awesome. 04's camp was fantastic. That was a terrible football team in 04.
They got hurt. That's the thing. Like they looked good in that when Derek's talked about that, and he said we all got hurt. That was the problem.
Yeah.
And then that was the end. Like that was
the window shut.
Floyd got the credit card bill and was like, okay, we got to pay this. That's basically what it was. Like,
what's funny is out here, we still see the Derrick Henry jerseys.
Yeah.
But you know what jersey that I probably see more than any other jersey when I'm out is the Javon Curse jersey.
Yeah.
It just, we'll see the white checks, we'll see the Masons,
you see George.
Yeah, you see those, but
McNair.
But the Curse jerseys are just
Julio Jones, that's a random one. A number 2, Mason Rudolph.
Right. That's oh man. That's something else.
There's a few. Yeah, but definitely some Derrick Henry for sure. Coming up next, we'll talk to the great John McClain. He was in Canton. Speaking of 85, there's Derek Mason.
Yep.
We will talk to him coming up next and get his thoughts on Hall of Fame weekend and all of that from last weekend, plus where things go from here. It's the Chasing Big Joe show presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game here on this Wednesday, live at Titans practice, Titans training camp, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. And they're going through some drills and watching that. Not too sunny, which is good, but definitely hot out here for these guys. Catch up with John McClain here in just a second. HoustonTexans.com, of course, was at Canton, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, last weekend. And I have a few questions for him about that. So
I bet he can't. That's why but he can't wait. He's preparing right now.
He is. He's ready to go.
You know, they're doing the 11-11 now, Titans are, and he never realized how big and fast these guys are until you see it up close and personal.
Let's bring in John McClain. HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work. John, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing fantastic out here at practice, but I want to start with Canton because I know that's special for you as the Hall of Fame voter, and obviously Andre Johnson going into the Hall of Fame as the first homegrown Texan to go in. What was the weekend like? What stood out to you?
It was amazing. First thing I do when I go to the Hall of Fame, I had to go to where my plaque is when I was inducted in 2006, and I want to make sure my name hadn't been taken off. And because that was an unbelievable experience. And then I go, okay, it's still there. And because I presented Andre Johnson to our committee, and he's the first Texan, it was extra special. I was very happy for him, the Texans fans. They had more Texans fans than any team there, including the Bears, who could just drive down. And I had two players, Steve McMichael and Devin Hester. And so, yeah, I felt terrible for them because the rain was an issue, kept the induction crowd down, but it didn't dampen the speeches. Andre Johnson was last, and he made a great speech. Gary Kubiak introduced him. The biggest event is Friday night, the Gold Jacket dinner, when they walk up on a stage after going through a gauntlet of congratulatory handshakes, hugs, high fives from the Gold Jacket cloud Hall of Famers. And then you go up and you get your Gold Jacket for the first time, and your family comes up on the stage. That is the moment to me that is the most special. Most Hall of Famers would tell you that, but it was an incredible weekend, and I was honored just to be able to experience it.
Oh, I'm sure it was fantastic. And Andre Johnson was a no-brainer. Devin Hester, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about him and whether he was Hall of Fame worthy. Obviously now he is. Does his induction maybe change things for guys that had that special team background that was a part of their game? And look, Derek Mason is somebody that certainly stands out to us here, has had that special teams early in his career and then obviously became a great receiver. But can his induction help others?
I don't think so, because Devin Hester was the greatest return specialist in history, had the most touchdowns, and he impacted games. I never could understand why he wasn't a better player, but better a position player. He wanted to be a running back.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a wide receiver. He came in from Miami just loaded with talent, but that's the way he had to utilize it. Now, Adam Vinatieri, to me, the greatest kicker in history, is going to be eligible next year, and I'm voting for him on the first ballot because the way he won games for the Patriots in terrible weather. And but I don't, I cannot vote for a guy like who ran down and covered kicks, and there were some great ones, over a guy who consistently starred at a position. But I'm always open to anybody who is presenting a candidate because I want to hear what they say, because that presenter will know a whole lot more than I do.
John, with that being said, what was the moment, and you said it before, and I can't remember what it was, a person who stood up, was presenting a player, stood up and just said their name? Was it somebody, was it Jerry Rice, who they stood up and said Jerry Rice and sat back down? Was that accurate?
The first one that did that I can remember was Edwin Pope of the Miami Herald, who'd been on the committee for decades. When it was Dan Marino's time, he stood up and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Marino," and he sat down. And so we're like, well, that's great. We don't need to sit here his accomplishments. And then that's the way it was for Peyton Manning, John Elway, Joe Montana. It's the way it's been for some quarterbacks. Brett Favre, Jerry Rice was the only receiver We didn't need to hear about Jerry Rice. And they had time limits on our presentations, and then we get to come back a couple more times to add stuff. But anything that can allow us to not have to focus. And I'm not just talking about no-brainers. There's a lot of no-brainers. Lawrence Taylor was a no-brainer, and he had one of the longest discussions we've ever had that got kind of nasty because of his off-the-field exploits, and we had to get the president to read the bylaws to us again. And when they say that a player, and let's think about Antonio Brown, when the bylaws don't take into account what you do away from football, well, that means in your personal life, in your private life. Like if OJ came up, he murdered 2 people, we'd have to put him in the Hall of Fame. But when you have antics around your team, in the locker room, on the field, on the practice field, all that counts, and that's going to work against Antonio Brown, even though he has incredible statistics.
So that kind of leads me into a question. It was something we've discussed, and I said I was going to ask you this: How is Steve McNair viewed? And he's already kind of on the cusp, and was, if they had won that Super Bowl, it might have been a different discussion. But I know he's been nominated before. How do you view that, and how his Hall of Fame resume, what it looks like?
I don't think Steve will ever get in the Hall of Fame. You got to be consistently great, not just really good and great at times. A quarterback has to be consistently great. Quarterbacks are held to a higher standard because it's the most important position in sports. And you see, to me, you don't have to win a Super Bowl to get in because there's so many other players involved. But if you do get Super Bowls, that helps you. Eli Manning is going to be coming up next year for discussion. And that's going to be a big one because Eli's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He made 2 great plays in 2 Super Bowls, and he's a Manning. But if you go back and look at his career, and there's going to be a lot of debate on Eli, and I can't wait. And but I think if you're a quarterback, you got to be a no-brainer, and that Steve's not.
Good point there, John. We're talking to John McClain on the Chasing Big Joe show here today. John, each year we see more and more coaches holding those star players out, not playing in the preseason games. What was it? Was there ever a chance like this back in the 70s and 80s where, Baum or Jack Pardee or Jerry Glanville would hold out guys? And did guys always play? Because I seem to remember, John, guys would play all 4 preseason games back in the 80s. Am I wrong on this?
No, you're right. Nobody considered it till they got into the salary cap era and they started worrying about quarterbacks getting hurt. And back in the old days, I'll say pre-strikes and salary cap, you could stockpile quarterbacks. And a lot of veteran quarterbacks were really good backups. And when they played, they were real good. And you could have 2 of them if you wanted. You can do that today, of course, but it's going to hurt you at other positions. When there were 4 preseason games, in the first one, the starters would play a quarter. Second one, they'd play a half. Third one, they would play 3 quarters or a half. And in the last preseason game, they would play 3 quarters, so they would just be ready to step into the start of the regular season, ready to go. And I spent a lot of time talking to players from different eras who played like that in preseason, and all of them say there were no more injuries then than there are today. The difference is players today take advantage of incredible facilities where they have everything in the world to work out and rehab, and they have great cafeterias where you just serve incredible meals. So you stay healthy, you stay in shape all year round. Back pre salary cap era in the 80s and early 90s, you had to, as soon as you reported to training camp, you put full contact pads on immediately. You had 2.5 to 3 hour practices a day because they used that to get you in shape. Thought you had to be toughened up, and then time proved that's not the case. But every player will tell you, you need contact. Offensive linemen need it more than anybody. Running backs need it too, and they don't get it now. And you can a lot of times tell in their play.
That's a good point. John, switch gears now, the Brandon Ayuk thing with the 49ers. all this that's going on, I found it interesting that the Patriots said, thanks, but no thanks. I was not expecting them to do that. And but very often, not too much, do you see a team that says, we like what we got, we're going to invest in our young guys. Were you surprised the Patriots pulled out?
Well, at first I was, but on the other hand, they're not going anywhere for a while, and he must have wanted too much money. It's obvious he's all about the money, and that's okay. I'm for players getting as much as they can, and he doesn't care whether he goes to the Super Bowl or playoffs at all. If he did, he'd stay with the 49ers. I thought the 49ers would keep him this season, maximize their chances to move the ball and score, and then after the season make a decision. Do they want to let Deebo Samuel go or Brandon Ayuk? Ayuk has less wear and tear on his body. But if they're willing to trade him now, they believe he's going to be an issue. They believe he's not going to be happy, that he's going to be a problem, that when the regular season starts and they get the game checks and he's going to get $14.1 million worth of game checks, that he's not going to sit out. He's going to come in. They sweeten his pot a little bit by giving him something else to tide him over, and then hope that he gave 100%. But if they're willing to trade him, then they're worried about it being a problem. On the other hand, they could be using this as, okay, we tried and it didn't work. You wanted too much money from those teams. So the candidates are falling by the wayside. But remember, when all the bidding was going on for Deshaun Watson, Cleveland was the first team he eliminated. Then the Browns brain trust got back together and said, well, what can we do to get back in this picture? And he said, well, what about we give him a fully guaranteed contract? And they did, and they got him. So maybe the Patriots will come back into it. But I think if I'm him, I want to go to Cleveland. If I'm them, I want Amari Cooper in exchange.
We're talking to John McClain. HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work. We'll have more with him coming up next. Chasing Big Joe live at Titans Camp, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Titans training camp continues, and we continue our conversation with John McClain. HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work. Brian Callahan said that some of his starters would play a little bit in the preseason opener on Saturday. The Texans play their second preseason game because of the Hall of Fame game on Friday at Pittsburgh, and I've seen that Justin Fields will start for the Steelers. So what is the plan for DeMeco Ryans and the Texans, John?
He only started 2 starters against the Bears, and they were offensive linemen who needed the playing time. And he said he will play his starters a little bit in this game at Pittsburgh on Friday. I'm guessing C.J. Stroud will play a series or 2. If they're 3 and out, I think he'll get a second one. They've got some starters nursing injuries. Laramie Tunsil, left tackle, hasn't practiced at all because he had knee surgery, but that's good for second-round pick Blake Fisher from Notre Dame's getting all that practice time and playing time. So players will pick, coaches will pick and choose. Your veteran starters, I don't think they'll play much till maybe the second game, and then they won't play at all in the third one. And I do think that guys not being able to hit in training camp, nobody goes all out and smashes people anymore. They just don't, unless it's by accident. I do think early in the season it affects blocking and tackling.
How has he handled the Denico Autry situation, knowing that he's going to lose him? We've kind of been watching that here with Arden Key, even though the league hasn't made it official. But has Autry been getting time with the ones, or are they trying to figure out what that's going to look like for the first 6 games?
His role was he was starting off as a defensive end. He was playing behind Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. And then in passing situations, he would come in and play tackle. So now that he can participate in this program, but he just has to be gone the first week of the season. He can't be around the facility for 6 games. The good thing is at his age, 34, he won't be tired when he comes in because he won't get beaten up. Meanwhile, they got to find somebody to take his place, and the guy that's doing it right now is Mario Edwards, a veteran who's bounced around the NFL like a pinball. So it's definitely a blow to their run defense, their pass rush, everything about the reason they paid him $10 million for 2 years. $10 million a year for 2 years, yeah.
John, we had Arthur Smith was on our show with Chase and I last week. We talked about a bunch of things. Let me ask you this. His 3 seasons in Atlanta weren't very well. He couldn't figure out a quarterback like that. Now he's kind of says he landed in Pittsburgh because it's a great opportunity for him. Do you think, and he probably will, but your opinion, I mean, going forward, how much would his experience in Atlanta, because it was pretty much a disaster, will hurt him getting a second chance of becoming a head coach?
I think it'll help him because you go to Pittsburgh, you have a philosophy of running the ball. You got a good offensive line, you got 2 backs. Last year, he didn't use Bijan Robinson enough. They had Tyler, what's his name? I can't remember his last name. He had 2 backs capable of rushing for 1,000 yards. They were good receivers, but it didn't work out because quarterback Ritter was terrible. And now he's going to have Russell Wilson at the end of his career. And I don't understand why Mike Tomlin wanted Wilson. Sean Payton did not. Pete Carroll did not. Maybe Tomlin thinks he can get something out of him. They didn't at this point in his career, even though his stats looked good last year. I'm guessing Justin Fields is going to quarterback, if not to start, a lot. And this is a good opportunity for Arthur Smith because he's playing for a Hall of Fame coach. Always, Steelers don't have losing records. So he's got to make the most out of this one, or he's going to be a career offensive coordinator or position coach.
Yeah, is it telling that when he left there, sometimes when a coach leaves a place, he'll end up just burning every bridge possible. And Arthur, for the most part, remains silent about his experience there. Does that play a small part in doing this, knowing that if you get a coach in there, that he's not going to just kind of, blast you when things go wrong?
It does, Joe, because there's so many things encompassing about being a head coach trying to get another job. And a lot of them get second chances. You don't see general managers getting a lot of second chances, but you see head coaches. And Bill Belichick being a great example. 1 playoff in his career at Cleveland, Nobody thought he'd be a head coach again, thought he'd be a coordinator. And if Robert Kraft hadn't wanted to stick it to Bill Parcells, he might not have never got another chance. So it doesn't matter why you got it. But the way he exited Atlanta worked really well for him. And I think that would bode well because, Arthur's not the guy who's going to badmouth anybody.
Yeah, exactly right. We're talking to John McClain. John, we sit here on August the 7th, 2024. To you, which head football coach in the National Football League is on the hot seat, but one that's had success but not gotten to the next level? Would it be with the Bills? Sean McVay?
No, I don't.
McDermott,
no,
I'm sorry.
Neither one of them. McDermott, no, I don't see it. If you're consistently good, generally you don't get fired. When owners have done that, it's backfired. I'll give you a great example. The Houston Oilers, Bum Phillips, love you blue. They went to the playoffs 3 years in a row. They played in the same division with the Steelers. They played an AFC that was much tougher than the NFC. And in all 3 seasons, they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion. And then Lad Herzig, a financial guy, convinced Bud Adams to fire Bum because he was mortgaging the future, trading draft choices for veterans. And then when he did fire him and promoted the defensive coordinator, the next time they had a winning record, they'd had 4 coaches, and they just backfired big time. So generally they don't do that unless that head coach is creating problems, and Sean McDermott is not creating problems. I believe the head coach under the most pressure is Matt Eberflus. People have gotten their hopes so high in Chicago with a rookie quarterback that it's almost going to be that the expectations in a tough division are just too high, and there's a good chance if they have a losing record, they may fire him and hire an offensive coach for Caleb Williams.
When you look at pressure, though, like and basically delivering on expectations, don't you kind of have to look at the Bengals and Joe Burrow? I mean, I know they went to a Super Bowl a few years ago, but at some point, when you start, and you put the Chargers and Justin Herbert in this conversation too. At some point, when you talk about how great a guy is, eventually they have to start putting rings on their finger and being in consistent championship games, to kind of stay in that. Do you think that Burrow and the Bengals are kind of in that conversation?
Absolutely not. Not now, Chase. Because he was hurt last year, and he's been injured quite a bit in his career, but I think that most people would pick them as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And so much is up to other players, your coaching, your system, and all that. And anybody that would take Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow in a heartbeat if they needed a quarterback. And like Jim Harbaugh, maybe he'll get to the Super Bowl, but he got rid of quite a few players who scored touchdowns. And now it's going to be interesting to see if he can replace them. And with Herbert having plantar fasciitis, and that is scary. As it was described to me by a player one time who had it, it's like getting out of bed, putting your feet on the floor, and one of them is put on a spike. And if you think a second and feel that, you know how bad it is. And I've never forgotten that. And it can linger. So I'm right now kind of skeptical of the Chargers early in the season. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think owners don't pull the trigger as fast as they used to for whatever reason. Everybody thinks Jerry Jones has a quick trigger. He doesn't. They complain in Dallas that he keeps the coaches too long. Now, if Mike McCarthy falters and doesn't win double digits and get back in the playoffs, you all know he's out of there.
Yeah, exactly. The funny, we talk about that, and I just pulled it up. The lead story on ESPN.com is the disconnect between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't see that getting any better. And boy, I tell you what, if you're a Cowboy, Commanders, or Giants fan, you love the fact that the Eagles seem to be slightly imploding.
I will say this to you and to John. This is my thought. Head coach next year, Philadelphia Eagles, will be Mike Vrabel.
Oh.
Well, I disagree because I think they're going to win the NFC East because nobody repeats as the NFC East champion. Haven't happened, I think, for 20 years. And I don't believe it's going to be Washington and the Giants.
Okay, we'll
There
see.
you go.
Just remember
Thanks,
if that
John.
happens where you heard it first.
Mark it
Just-
down.
Just remember.
Mark it down.
John-
Mike Vrabel to the
Mark it down. John, appreciate it as always. We'll talk next week.
guys. Thank you very much as always.
Awesome. John McClain, HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work. That's my hot take. You know, but maybe it's a hot
Yeah,
take. I don't
John
know.
laughing and
I will see.
didn't know what was going on there.
If I
Vrabel
If
to
I'm
the
Jeffrey
Eagles.
Lurie and I know my star player needs somebody that knows how to make him work, Vrabel's
Can you
that
imagine
guy.
Vrabel? I mean, the natural media here is so soft. Can you imagine Vrabel in Philadelphia? I mean,
Yes,
he
I
would be
can actually.
fighting every. That'd be great.
It'd be
They'd be
awesome.
fist fighting every day.
We will. Speaking of fist fighting, 2 teams got fined for fights in their joint practices. We'll tell you about that, plus more from Titans practice. Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. It's the Chase and Big Joe show here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2 here at Titans practice. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. On this Wednesday, Peter Skoronski scheduled to join us post-practice. Looking forward to that conversation with the Titans left guard, as Jared likes to say. Two teams fined $200,000 each.
What?
For joint practice fights. The Detroit Lions and the New York Football Giants.
That just happened yesterday.
Yeah. $200K. How about that?
It was pretty bad. And I get it again. I don't know. Malik Neighbors came over and bumped one of the guys for the Lions, and he went after him, and he was hitting him with his fist on the side of his helmet.
Oh, boy.
And I just don't – look, man, if you're going to fight, grab the face mask and pull him to the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's how I always did it, and that's how I got my butt kicked too.
Wes in Clarksville said, you can weigh in 615-737-1025, our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. I think Vrabel is going to take over as Browns head coach. They just extended him, so not Vrabel, Stefanski. So
that's a good football team.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to stick with the Eagles. I think
unless the Browns go 3-14 and fire him, Vrabel's not going to do that.
Yeah,
he'll land somewhere. Maybe your Cowboys next year. He'll land somewhere.
Maybe. Oh yeah, he'll get a job.
All right, Chase, you are a gambling man, right?
I've been known to wager.
You and your little buddy, Mr. Merritt.
Yep.
So report comes out off. This is from On3. The SEC is moving towards adding a mandatory injury report by the start of the 2024 college football season. And the first comment I saw on that was "Gamblers Unite."
Yep. Oh, look, that's why the NFL does it. I mean,
that's true.
They're never going to admit that, but
Right.
That's why they do it. Like, as much as we mentioned Mike Vrabel, he used to hate it. He used to hate having to disclose that stuff, but that's why. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. And if the SEC does it, then everybody else will follow suit.
If I'm a coach, I'm like, I don't want to give you any knowledge of what's going on my staff or anything, but in today's age, you find everything out.
Tough bleep. Like,
that's rude.
Like, all of these coaches in their paranoia about if any little thing gets out that it's going to give their opponent competitive advantage, dude, we all have the internet. If they want competitive advantage, they'll get it. You don't need a Connor Stallions sneaking on the sideline as a Domino's pizza guy or whatever. Like, if you want to find something out bad enough, you can find it out. And it's just like,
right.
Just chill.
So when should this come out? Friday evening? Saturday morning?
No, you do it Thursday evening. 2 days, like the NFL. So the final injury report comes out Friday afternoon for a Sunday noon game. So I would say Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening.
Okay. All right.
I think Thursday's being a little generous.
I mean, I would but the NFL does it.
No, I'm just saying it should be earlier.
Oh, you say earlier.
I say Wednesday. Because if games are on
understand.
Saturday and NFL's on Sunday.
But a lot can
But you
change,
don't,
though.
right? But you don't. I think so. Now I'm kind of talking myself out of this because here's the thing about like Wednesday, and I hear what you're saying, and I hear why you're saying it, but a lot can change. Like if a guy has a deep bruise or something on Wednesday and can barely move his arm, that's probably going to be better by Saturday. I mean, not fully better, but like it's going to be improved. So that's why I kind of like the NFL where you have like 3 days of it. You can see the progression of the injury as you kind of move forward. But that, I mean, if they did Friday, if it was 24 hours, then I'll take that too. But I do think they should do something.
So you would propose Wednesday, Thursday?
I'm going to say Friday now.
Okay.
I'll change my tune on that a little bit. 24 hours.
Okay. That's it. Throw it out there. But I mean, can you imagine if this does go through and get it, play everything out there and see who's doing it? I guess to piss off the masses, I'd give it out on like Sunday night.
You know, it's going to be crazy. 5 years from now or less, we're going to be sitting here talking about college football is going to have injury reports. They're going to have active game day actives and inactives. Probably going to have trades. I mean, you're going to have basically it's going to be a pro league.
I can't. I mean, we had I talked to Chris Massaro yesterday. Because at the end of the day, it's about college athletics is graduating players. And I kind of smirked at him, and he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Believe it or not, I mean, we're in the game of graduating and educating players." And I was like, "God, that truly is the job.
I know.
Winning games and being an athlete, that's fantastic and all that. But in the day, you're there to graduate kids and all that goes on with it."
But I feel like it's getting further and further away from that.
It is,
and not at the fault of people like Chris. Say what you want. I mean, he saw where this was going. I was like, I'm out. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't like where this is going. It's not going to change. You know, Pandora's box is open.
The power's not with the coaches anymore. The power is with the collective.
Yep.
With the agent and, with the player's family. I mean, it's all that goes on there. And it can sway. And I had a conversation with this guy yesterday at the gym. And again, all right, you're Chase McCabe and you're at University of Memphis.
Okay.
And I'm your big rival and I'm at, I don't know, whatever school, Memphis, just a school, whatever. All right. And last year you throttled me and they're paying you $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Why can't I pay you $3 million? Come be on my team.
Right. You can.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the rule, but the thing that ticks me off, and it should tick everybody off, is the NCAA had an opportunity 20 years ago to set all this right and to do this the right way. Because I think everybody and their brother will agree, the players deserved more. Coaches were making millions and millions of dollars. Programs were making billions. It's $1 billion industry, billions. Right. And the players were getting nothing. They were getting and you'd have people going like, well, they're getting an education. Like, okay, yeah, you're right, but they can't work. It's pretty much a full-time job. So they're not getting anything. Then it starts under the table. The NCAA could have stepped in and fixed all this, but they didn't. And then they let it get to a point where, you got Supreme Court rulings and things like that. Now it's the wild, wild west. And, you can regulate it all you want, but you're not going to be able to get it to where it probably needs to be.
No, and it's going to take a long time to do that. And so, again, I'd love to sit and talk about the product on the field.
Yeah, I know.
And that's going to be so difficult, too, because it's like this and that. And what's going to happen now is you're going to have, it's already out there, rankings based off portal transfers. Like Ole Miss is number one. And that's more pressure for a coach now because Lane Kiffin, that team goes 7-5 after all that hype. That means you're not doing your job as a coach.
Yeah.
And all the hype, you can run your mouth as much as you want. That dude's still not won anything.
That will derail the Lane train.
As a head coach, especially if Middle goes down there and kicks their tail on September the 7th, which would be fantastic to do that. But that's the thing now. It's like you're getting ratings based off portal. You're not. Yeah. I mean, Middle's got 59 new guys coming in. A lot of these schools got so many new players that come in. And I was reading one quarterback. He's on his fourth school. I forget what school it was. I was like, but it's so many different places that go on. And, again, it's what happens on Saturdays, what I love, what I enjoy. And I can't get caught up in Chase McCabe. It's $2.2 million. Dr. Crane, it's 1.5 off the field. And you got a Lamborghini. It's just nuts, man.
Is it because I'm short, Joe? Is that why?
Like a Ferrari, man.
But you're right. It's a thing we've all created now. Now it's like, well, I don't like this, but it's what we've all created, and now we got to kind of wrestle the monster back.
Yeah, but you know what though? You asked a great question yesterday to Derek Mason, and the smile on his face told the whole story. But you were like, when you're on this field, like practice, they're yours. That's it. You guys are a team. There's no
phones.
The outside is all gone. And it's like that's really the only time you have. But I watched that practice yesterday, and it's different here in the NFL and watching this one. Watching yesterday at MTSU, and I'm sure it's like this up in Knoxville and at Vanderbilt and Tuscaloosa. It's like it was pure again. For that short amount of time, it just felt pure again. Like you're out there, you're working, it's hot, sweaty, tempers flaring, pads popping, all that stuff, and you're out there having a good time, and you just got to cherish those moments.
It's funny you bring that up, is that you talk about that feeling, that ambient feeling when you're out there and everything that's, meshed into one like a beautiful kaleidoscope. But it's the same thing that the Four Horsemen went through at Notre Dame. It's the same thing that the Alabama teams of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
It's all, I mean, it's every team from Cumberland to Kentucky Wesleyan to Texas A&M to the Oregon Ducks. I mean, it's all about the practice field. That's where it all begins. And, you know, I love the history of football. I just love all that. But it's all begins on the practice field. All of it begins on the practice field. And as long as we keep focused on that and remain on these kids on the practice field, I think we'll be okay. And I hope we keep it that way.
Yeah, I do too.
I got another topic for you, Chase, for the
All
next
right.
break.
We'll do that.
When we come back, the On3 has the hardest football schedules in college football. And the SEC is well represented, but one team is not on there, and you might be surprised.
Okay, 615-737-1025. We're live today. Titans training camp. Peter Skoronsky going to be our guest later in the show here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
gotta keep them separated.
Take on Indianapolis. Pregame at 6:20. First pitch at 6:35 with coverage also available on 94.9 The Fan app. And it's all presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, Cottle Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We're live out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Practice continuing. Peter Skoronsky going to join us at the end of practice. Dr. Crane back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. All right, hit me with your second college football topic.
All right, so this is the top 25 according to On3. On3 is a lot of fun. Can do
like
a lot of
On3.
these polls. Top 25 hardest college football schedules. Number one is the Florida Gators.
Okay, I can probably buy that.
Well, there are four, I think this was right. There's one, or maybe I'll figure it. I thought I got this correct. Like,
I mean, they got to play Miami, Sanford, Texas A&M, at Mississippi State, UCF, at Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, at Florida State. Yeah, that's not easy.
the first 8 are SEC schools. Mississippi State second, Georgia third, Kentucky fourth, Auburn 5, Alabama 6, Oklahoma 7, Texas 8th.
Okay.
All right. Then you have number 9 that squeezes in there's Georgia Tech. Look up Georgia Tech's schedule. They come in at number 9. Tennessee is 8th. We're pretty well versed in their schedule.
I thought you said Texas was 8.
Tennessee 8th, Georgia Tech 9th.
Okay.
Texas is 10. But I wonder why Georgia Tech is able to slide in there at 9. Who
All
are
right.
they playing?
Well, they opened the season against Florida State
Okay.
in Ireland, then Georgia State, at Syracuse
No.
versus VMI. I don't even know who that is. At Louisville,
Okay.
against Duke,
No.
at North Carolina,
Eh.
Notre Dame at home, at Virginia Tech, Miami at home, NC State at home, at Georgia.
That gives you the 9th.
I don't know about that.
All right. 10th is Texas. 11th is Purdue. 12th, UCLA. 13th, Washington. 14th is Vanderbilt.
I mean, Vanderbilt's schedule is pretty tough.
It is.
I mean, we've talked about it. You're opening against Virginia Tech, and then at Missouri, Alabama comes here, at Kentucky, Ball State, Texas comes here, at Auburn, South Carolina, at LSU, Tennessee.
Okay.
I would have them top 10.
So 15 of the 16 SEC schools according to this list, have the top 25 hardest schedules.
Yeah.
One team is not on there. Guess which team is not on there?
Alabama.
Nope. Alabama
Right.
comes in at number 6.
So you're saying what SEC team is not on this list?
Yep. According to the top 25 hardest college football schedules, 15 of the 25 are SEC schools. One SEC school is not on this list.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma comes in at 7. I'll go ahead and tell you. Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Okay.
So it sets up even more for Lane Kiffin that he has to go out and absolutely win this year because the schedule's set up for you. You got all these supposedly great transfer portal kids who are outstanding. You have to win. There's no excuse for you not winning this year.
All right. Well, let's look at Ole Miss's schedule and see how we feel about it. They will open the season against Furman, and then MTSU.
Okay. 2-0.
At Wake Forest,
3-0.
Georgia Southern,
4-0.
Kentucky,
Kentucky at Ole. Yeah, it is Ole Miss.
at South Carolina, at LSU, Oklahoma at home, at Arkansas, Georgia in Oxford, at Florida, and then Egg Bowl is in Oxford this year.
Sets up perfectly for him.
And I have one little tiny rant.
Yep. Go ahead.
The Egg Bowl is on November 29th, which is Black Friday, which is blasphemy. It should be Thanksgiving night. It should always be Thanksgiving night, and I'm mad they changed it.
Yes.
Amen.
Jill Jonick and I had when you were on vacation, had a nice topic on this about how the ESPN went to Clemson and said, move the Palmetto Bowl to
Yep.
Friday. And
Yep.
Clemson says, you can go straight to hell. we're not doing it. The ACC got really mad at Clemson and said, we need to always satisfy our broadcast partners. And Clemson's like, well, we're not.
Yeah.
So
no,
they
leave
wanted
this stuff alone.
They wanted the triple header of Clemson, South Carolina. What was the other game? The Egg Bowl, and there's another. Oh, Georgia Tech, I think.
Is it?
They want to move that to Friday. They wanted a triple header the day after Christmas, but Clemson's like, we ain't doing it. So if you're not a Dabo fan, I'm great that they said, hey, man, we're not doing this. You're not going to control everything that we do, which is good.
So that's what, week 13?
It's November 29th.
So the 20th. All right. So week 14. Or no, I had it right. Yeah. November 29th is the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes. Isn't that right?
Oh, I'm looking at
In
last
Thanksgiving,
year.
November.
Yeah,
Dr. Crane, isn't Thanksgiving November 25th?
It normally is, yeah.
I think you're right. I'm looking at last year. Yeah.
I love telling
My
people
bad.
that. They get so mad.
November 20th. I see what you did.
They get so
On
mad.
my
Okay,
calendar,
week
I have
13.
November 28th
This
is
is last
Thanksgiving.
year.
Oh, yeah. All right. The 30th is the Saturday. The 29th is the Friday.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to pull it up, and nobody wants to let me see it. So they keep taking me to last year. I'm like, can I just see this year's schedule?
Where are you
Like-
going?
Just to help me.
I'll try to help you there.
Oh my God! There's all these freaking pop-ups. This is great radio.
Yeah.
Peter Skoronsky going to join us at some point.
Yeah, mine's not working either now. Stephen,
I know.
what have you done to us?
I don't know. Just work.
You got questions ready for Scrunch? Did you submit
Yeah,
them?
I'm ready. I did. Okay. Maybe.
Explain it again.
I got it here.
For those nuggies.
Friday the 24th. Yeah, Friday the 29th, and they wanted that. So there's all kind of games that game. And what ESPN wanted, ESPN hasn't set their schedule yet for that day.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, the only game.
Georgia's upset. Well, I'm sorry, it's ABC games. So instead of the Palmetto Bowl, they got Oklahoma State at Colorado at 11, which will be freezing. Then it's Mississippi State at Ole Miss at 2:30, which is a joke. And then Tech at Georgia is the night game. I'm with you, man. The Egg Bowl was a staple.
I mean,
on Thanksgiving
night, and I know the NFL kind of screwed that up. Thanksgiving night, you got Memphis and Tulane. That's your game Thanksgiving night.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that at Tulane?
Yeah.
Well, at least,
I mean, look, I'm sure it'll be a good game, but it's not going to be the Egg Bowl.
yeah. I love it. Clemson's like, yeah, you guys.
I mean,
stay away.
Minnesota, Wisconsin, that's a noon CBS game, so watch that. 2:30 on ABC's the Egg Bowl. But again, I mean, they got all these games on Friday. And then your Saturday schedule, is a full day too. So they did that a few years ago, and it's like, just leave stuff alone.
No, they're not going to. And Jill and I also got a great point about TV determining things. We went back to, stop scheduling college basketball games at Memorial Gym at 6:00 or 5:30, whenever it was, on a Tuesday. Nobody can get there. Nobody can get this stuff. People are like, well, nobody's at Memorial Gym. There's no crowd there. Because look at the time you got it.
Right.
No parent is going to go pick up their kid and go straight to the basketball game. You grew up here when I did, Chase. Memorial Gym would hold 13,000, 14,000 people every single game. They started at 7:00, and people went to the games and enjoyed and had fun, even when those teams weren't very good.
Right.
Now it's at 6:00. I'm not going to that game. I got two kids. All right, I got to pick you up from school. I got to get off work. I got to feed you. We're going to get part of your homework done. Oh, by the way, we need to be at Memorial Gym by 5:45 to get the game going.
Yeah.
It's
And you got
ridiculous.
to deal with traffic.
TV is, I know they're getting all this money, and I hate hearing and talking about it, but at the same time, man, at some point, that's why I was so glad Clemson stood up and said, hey, man, we ain't moving. Too bad.
615-737-1025. Titans practice is wrapping up. We'll give some thoughts on that. Plus, Peter Skoronsky going to join us as well here on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Oh, this is a good one. The Godfather, bringing us back.
So good.
Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park practice has wrapped up. Peter Skoronsky going to join us here in just a few minutes. So looking forward to having him on the show. I was just telling you, I was watching some of the drills and during the breaks, and saw Jack Gibbons, number 50.
Yeah.
And he almost got to Levis and thought, they're obviously not sacking, for real. He got to Levis and, wanted it to be called a sack and thought it should have been a sack. And he starts chirping. He's chirping at the coordinators and everything. And he's in on a lot of plays. Like, I'm watching him buzz out there, and I love it. I love the chirping.
Well, I just, he's going to make his way on this team somehow. And
yeah, like, he's not the best player out there, but he's a guy that you pay attention to because he's out there working.
He's got to be, he's 6'3", 245. He don't look that big, though. But
no.
That's it. I mean, they need, we're hearing great things about Kenneth Murray during camp, how he's really playing well. And that was kind of a knock when he came over here. It was it not like rated as like the worst signing or one of the worst signings of the spring was Kenneth Murray. But all I've seen is he's out here in camp. He's in every drill going nonstop.
You're every Joe.
I'm every day. But he's every drill, he's going nonstop playing his butt off. So we'll see. Again, it's got the greatest camp ever. But if you come out on game day and you're not doing anything, well, then that's how it's all kind of determined like that. But I'm excited to talk to Skoronsky.
I know that this was kind of like when we were putting our wish list together. He was at the top of yours.
It's
to
just
talk to him.
fun to talk to guys been through the 1 year in the National Football League and just kind of a brute force. I mean, his grandpa, Peter Skoronsky's grandpa, Bob Skoronsky, was a 5-time NFL champion, 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Green Bay Packers. He's in the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
It's pretty good, man.
And I'm curious, we talked to J.C. Latham a couple of weeks ago. He had a lot of things to say about good things to say about Bill Callahan. I'm curious about Peter Skoronsky because you talk about somebody that I think could really benefit from working with Bill Callahan. It's Peter Skoronsky.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like he could take a guy that, is already good and knows the fundamentals and just mold him and just polish him. Polish him is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, he went through he learned probably more in 3 football games last year than he has in his whole career. And now your second year, you get Callahan here.
Yeah.
There's Rand Carthen. Rand's waving us. Hey, Rand, how are you, buddy?
Rand, what's up?
Oh, no, you get out of here. That guy's crazy. Love him. Good times. Oh, stop it. Oh, good times. But, so it's a lot of fun. And the rain's held out, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just overcast, so it's not bad. Not bad at all. Quandre Diggs was out here at practice today as he was officially announced yesterday, signed a 1-year deal with the Titans. And so Rand Carthon, speaking of, continues to tweak the roster and add. And I do like the Diggs signing. Again, some of these like Shane Ray, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, low risk, potentially high reward. So
can I say this too? I don't know when people come out here why you wear long pants. Like here's the guy here. He's wearing long pants and he's got a hoodie on, long sleeves. I don't understand that. I mean,
I don't.
He's trying to act like he's not sweating his tail off, and he is.
Like, look, I'm gonna full disclosure admit it. Like, I hate the heat. I do, and I'm a wimp, and so like I'm wearing shorts, I'm wearing long sleeves. But I've been sweating, since the moment I walked out here.
Right.
I mean, like my shorts are drenched.
Just imagine where that guy's wearing walking around.
I can't do it. And like I have people tell me like, oh yeah, no, if I'm working, like my neighbor works in the yard and he's always wearing jeans and long sleeves. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because it keeps me cool. I sweat.
Oh,
I'm like, I can't do it. I mean, I get I can't do it.
Mow the yard, you wear long sleeves, you don't get the sunburn. I get all that. And also, no Don Rickles sightings today.
No, Don's not here,
which is good.
Speaking of mowing the yard, like it is so therapeutic. It's like the most therapeutic thing. I've been, working on the farm and all that stuff, and just even with a push more, it's just like, you try, you get your lines, and it's just great.
Now,
I
do you
love it.
listen to music or go? I do both.
I do
Silence?
both. I've been listening to music because I get upbeat stuff going, and I kind of get into it.
You know what I listen to, which really gets me going sometimes, is okay. I was looking at what's a cacker. So I was like, it's supposed to say caller on our screen, but it says cacker.
Let's
Take the call.
I don't know what a cacker is, but we'll take a caller. Blair Durham's on the line. Wants to talk about Peter Skoronsky. What's up, Blair?
Hey guys, how are y'all? Hey
Doing
there.
fantastic.
What's up, Blair?
Man,
Good.
life is good. So my son, who's a senior this year at NBA, we went to the Indianapolis Colts game last year, and he's never been starstruck until we're sitting. There's a great steakhouse there called Elmo's, and they have the hottest shrimp appetizer you've ever eaten. But we're sitting next to Peter Skoronsky, and my son was like a high school girl. Like, oh my God, Dad, that's Peter. It was awesome. And he was there, I think, with one of the receivers that may or may not have made the squad this year, but really cool. And if you haven't eaten at Elmo's, it's a must do.
Oh, well, next time we all go together, Blair.
I like
All
it.
right.
Yeah, we can make it a point for sure.
Blair,
It
did
is,
you get to talk to
yeah.
Peter any?
No, so I said to Ethan, my son, I was like, hey, man, you should just say, hey, we're lifelong Titans season ticket holders, we're members, welcome to Nashville. And he just couldn't do it. And I wasn't going to do it for him. But seems like a great kid. I didn't know that about his dad. That's really cool what you guys were saying about him.
Yeah. Actually, it's his grandpa that was Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame. Hey, Blair, real quick, is there a small chance that you could put Chase and I on one of your commercials?
What do you want to do?
I want to crack
you
some
guys-
skulls. We want to be some. Yeah, we want to crack skulls. That's it.
Yeah, I want to.
Okay.
I want to
Be a couple of heavies.
Yeah, I like that. I like that plan. Let's do that.
So
Thanks for
are
the
you
call, Blair.
like
Appreciate
mob?
it.
Are you mob guys, or are we just going to go out and raise some ruckus?
We can do either. We're multiple actors. We can play whatever role
We're
you need, Blair.
enforcers. We can be enforcers.
I love it. All right. I hope Peter has a great season and look forward to the left side of the line, and like a lot of Titans fans, curious about what the right side's going to look like.
Will do.
All right,
Will do.
see
Thank
guys.
you, Blair. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, Blair
Appreciate you
Durham
guys.
joining us here
See ya.
on the program. Good stuff there.
That was a polite. Hey, thanks for asking, but no. We're booked. Oh, that's very cool. Thank you, Blair.
The awkward
I
silence
see Peter
behind
Skoronsky
the
here,
breaking
so it
the
looks like-
skulls. Yikes.
Cracking skulls, pal.
Looks
Excuse
like
me.
he's about to come over here. So I tell you what, let's just hold it, maybe. Or
There
we're
he
gonna-
comes.
Yeah, we're gonna hold it right here as Peter Skoronsky begins to walk over, and we'll get him all set up. And
Getting a picture taken.
it looks
over
like he's. I tell you what, Dr. Crane,
break.
let's step away real quick, and then we'll come back and wrap it up with Peter Skoronsky here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. All right, now is the time. Go get your roof checked out with my friends at 5 Points Roofing, 5pointsroofing.com. That's the website you need to go to get it all started. You know, storms have been coming through here at random, and maybe your property got some damage. If it did, you definitely need to get your roof checked out. They will come out, inspect it for free, and then tell you what you need to do from there. If you did get storm damage, they'll help you through the insurance claim process, taking that stress off of you, making it so much better. 5pointsroofing.com. That's the website. FIVE pointsroofing.com. You got to spell it out. Go there today. Get it all started. 5pointsroofing.com. Chasing Big Joe out here at Titans Training Camp, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and what a great way to wrap up today's show. Peter Skoronsky, Titans left guard, joining us now here on the program. And we're just sitting here for a few minutes. You said the weather was nice today. You kind of felt good out there.
Oh, yeah, this has been the best day so far. A little cloud cover, a little breeze. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So we had you guys right in front of us and watching, the team period and everything. Now into the third week of training camp. How's it feeling? How's it looking?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the dog days right here, in my opinion. It's like you're still hitting the same guys. No preseason games quite yet, so you're just kind of in that grind of like, okay, what can we get out of this? And it's just to keep improving. And proud of the way everyone's worked, and I feel like we're ascending as a whole team, and I'm really happy with the way we've worked.
I know you obviously there's a different staff this year, coaching staff this year, but did it feel different going into year two as your rookie year where you're just trying to figure it all out and take it all in? Did it feel more, routine with going into year two?
Yeah, definitely a lot more in terms of knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
Just not from like an organizational and standpoint
Sure.
of like knowing the routine of training camp, but also just like a speed of the game type of deal in terms of like I've felt that before. I know what the training camps practices are like in terms of physicality. So just felt more comfortable in that sense. And using that comfort to kind of grow my game, I think.
I know when I played, the guy next to me and the guy at the other side were the two most important men in my life at that time on the field. How's it going with JC on your left? I guess Lloyd on your right.
Yeah, I mean, really, really happy with those guys. Lloyd is a great leader, really competitive and really smart, and that's kind of everything you need in the center. And JC continues to get better every day. He's got a really great energy to him. Really great competitiveness. He wants to be a great tackle. He wants to do well, wants to win. So, all those guys have all the traits you need in terms of being successful, and really happy that I get to have those guys because they bring the best out of me too.
Be honest, how many times do you go to the line of scrimmage, even growing up, when you're like, I don't know who to block, and you ask the guy to your left, and it's like, because it happens. I did it half my career.
It does happen sometimes. I think this year compared to last year, there's a lot less of those moments now. I feel like I'm a little more comfortable in terms of knowing what to do. But yeah, that does happen, and you gotta kind of talk through it and maybe ask a couple questions, but it happens.
Yeah, you go line of scrimmage like there's supposed to be a guy over me, and now he's way out there. I don't know what to do. So it's as they say, when you prepare for war, nothing goes according to plan.
Right.
Absolutely. You have to kind of adjust everything. So you're really learning every single day throughout your career.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. I feel like the day you kind of stop learning and stop caring, that's probably when you should be done. You're always trying to go like this and ascend. So
yeah, well done.
Peter Skoronsky is with us. So be honest, the first time you line up and you see big T'Vondre Sweat 93 across from you on the other side, like if it's me, I'm thinking, oh sweet Jesus, this is a big man that I got to block. But what's that been like going up against him?
Yeah. I mean, he obviously passes the look test, no doubt. But I'm really, really impressed with his play and his power. I think he's been everything all of us expected and even more. He's got really an ability to disrupt, and he's really powerful and stout, but he can also get to an edge and get after the passer. So really impressed with him so far. I think he's going to be a really big factor for us.
The biggest thing that people have talked about with the offensive line is Bill Callahan coming in to coach with his son and to coach you guys.
Yeah.
JC was on last week and talked about just in such a short amount of time learning so much from him. I would assume it's the same for you, but what has that relationship been like?
Yeah, it's been great. He's one of the best. He has a really great track record of developing linemen. So I think it's easy for all of us to see that and buy in. He grinds us. He's tough on us and wants the best out of us. But, you appreciate it because he'll make you better. And I feel like he's made me better already. We haven't even played a game yet. So he'll be a great player.
Well, what's it like in the film room with Bill Callahan? I mean, is he very not say yelling, but is he teaching as well when you're watching this film? Because when you go and break down the film, Peter, you're like, oh, this is going to be awful. They're going to kill me. They're going to yell at me. How's his approach to doing that, to teaching you inside the building?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he'll get on you. He's not going to sugarcoat things. He'll be honest with you. And if you did bad, he'll tell you did bad or tell you hated it, stuff like that. But, he keeps it light. And I think at the end of the day, everyone knows he cares about you and wants you to be great. So everyone's got a thick skin in there, and he'll get on us, but we know it's because he's trying to get the best out of us.
This might seem like an odd question. How did your game change after your what you had an emergency appendectomy?
Appendectomy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I really hate to bring it up in terms of like, I think I'm making excuses about
No.
my performance, but yeah, I feel like I lost a good amount of weight and strength. You know, I pretty much didn't eat for a week after I had the surgery. So like, just totally drained my body, I felt like, and it was, you know, it's hard to get strength back and gain in the season. But, you know, I think it certainly wasn't any help when you're still trying to work through things as a rookie and adjust to the season and adjust my technique too. And, you know, I feel like I didn't really have that play strength I needed at that point. But, you know, I felt like I was part of the way, you know, I kind of worked through things and put together some good games, but I think, you know, it kind of led to some of my inconsistencies in terms of just being consistent, you know, for however many games I played. So it definitely affected me, but can't happen again.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm
happy
telling
that's
you,
done.
but if I'm reading the injury report and you're coming back from appendectomy, if I'm a D lineman, I'm going right after where you got injured. I'm going, I mean, that's just how football is. And so I was curious about how you had to protect that part of your body as well as do everything else you're trying to do, because that's not in your playbook anywhere.
Yeah. No one gave me any shots to the old appendix or anything. That wasn't really an issue, to be honest.
Wow.
Okay.
I think it was just the overall, you know, strength and power issue and weight. But no one was like, you know, my wound was completely healed. You know, I had great doctors and surgeons.
Yeah.
So, you know, no issues there. It just was, you know, the side effects of recovering.
Is the NFL getting soft?
No, I'd hope that no one would be doing something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Talking to Peter Skronsky, Titans left guard. So, you know, we've kind of seen this change with the organization, and now it's a new opportunity for guys like you to step up and be into a leadership role, even though you're only a second-year player. You know, so what has that process been like as you guys come together as a cohesive unit and try and build this next great Titans franchise?
Yeah, I think, you know, my mentality, you know, going to another year is just kind of lead through my consistency. You know, I'm not a rookie anymore. No more ups and downs. No more rookie mistakes. Just trying to be a guy that, like, a solid starter that, you know, guys can hang their hat on. Hey, you know, we know Peter's going to do his job here, and I think that's where you grow your ability to lead is by being consistent, and that's my biggest goal this year.
What's it been like watching Will now as he's grown into the starter? You got, you know, 9 games last year that he got to play, but it's his squad now.
Yeah, I've been really impressed. I mean, I think his poise in the huddle to me is like, you know, so much improved from last year. You know, in terms of, you know, his poise, his command of the calls and the checks and cadence, stuff like that. You know, really impressed with that. You know, he's a, you know, legit NFL quarterback in terms of his preparation and you know, his command of the huddle and everything. So I think from that standpoint, absolutely he can do it. Obviously we got to give him, you know, the time and the blocking to get his job done. And so that's what we do. But, you know, everything that he can do over the offseason, I feel like he's done, and he's exceeded that.
What did you hit on your ACT to get Northwestern?
I took it once. I got a 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love that.
That's great. I mean, playing at that school, Northwestern, Big Ten, run the ball, cold temperatures and all that, that had to be, at least for a pure football guy, that had to be fun.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a lineman's conference, I think.
Right.
You know, it's like you said, cold temps, run the ball, you know, 13, 14 personnel. And, you know, when it's, you know, 20 degrees in Evanston and the wind's, you know, 40 miles an hour, the only thing you can do is hand the ball off. And that I love, you know, as an lineman, you love that. So
yeah,
exactly. I think it was a great fit for me.
What'd you major in Northwestern?
Econ.
Econ.
I didn't graduate though. So yeah,
it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'll finish it at some point.
Took me 11 years out of high school to graduate, so you'll get there. I can do it, Peter. I know you could do it.
Plan on it.
No doubt. Peter Skronsky is with us. You know, you guys, we've talked about the left side and what you all are doing there. And there's competition on the right side. Sadiq, you know, retires and all of that. And so now that gives more opportunity to other guys. So what do you say to the guys that are battling for that right guard, right tackle spot right now?
I think everyone has to prepare like they want to be the starter. You know, there's no like, oh, this guy's getting the 1 reps today, whatever. He's the guy. I think everyone has to compete and prepare like, you know, week 1 in Chicago, they're going to be the one going out there. And I think that's how we're going to get the best out of everybody. And that's how, you know, we're going to find those 2 guys who are going to play there. So we'll see. But I've been impressed with everyone's attitude and competitiveness so far.
Your grandpa was a stellar player for the Packers.
Yep.
You play them in week 3. I mean, how cool is that going to be for your family?
Yeah,
you're
awesome.
playing against the team that your grandpa played for.
For sure. I mean, I was a diehard Packers fan up until I was drafted. So you know, I'm not ashamed of that or anything. You
Sure,
know, obviously
right.
totally committed to this organization now, but obviously that it's a big part of my life and a big part of my upbringing. So definitely a little bit surreal, you know, having to go out and get after him a little bit, but it'll be cool. You know, I think a lot of my family will be invested in it just because they watched the Packers so long. But
Well, that's
I think
awesome.
everyone will be rooting for the two-town blue, not the green and yellow.
Well done.
No doubt about that. Peter, hey, thanks so much for doing this. It's good to catch up with you, and we'll enjoy watching you as this weekend and many, many weeks ahead this year. So,
Appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah, thanks.
Long
Peter Skoronsky joining us here on the program. That's a good way to wrap things up. That is going to do it for us. Willie and D. Mace coming up next.
Yeah, we do. As we leave our show always to our guys out there, if you're struggling, listen, dial 988 on your cell phone. Somebody's always there to talk to you. We go through a lot of emotions. I'm talking to the men out there, and we try to be big, bad, and tough. I'm telling you, talk to someone if you're going through anything. We're always here for you. As we say all the time, God has you on this earth for a specific purpose that only you can fulfill. If something happened to you, you'd be tremendously missed, and know that we love you.
Amen to that. Peace, love, rock and roll. Willie and D. Mace coming up next. 102.5, 106.3, the game.